Hi, this is my Connor Spokane, the leader and the founder of the Young Men Empowerment Forum. Allow me today to deal with a topic, part one of this topic, that speaks about transforming from arrogance to humility as a young man. I want to speak to you as a young man that you need to transform, you need to change from arrogance to humility. I must emphasize that all of you, that arrogance, very irritating. And arrogant people are just very, very antisocial in a way. And not many people appreciate them because arrogance is actually something that becomes a cancer in the communities. Now, as a young man, I want to speak about this and make you aware that you need to transform from arrogance. And please become humble and transform from arrogance and to humility and become a humble individual. That's very important that we want to speak about today. Now, I want you to note that arrogance is fault-proof. Arrogant doesn't see a fault on its own, and arrogant will forever defend its ground and not agree that a person that is arrogant never agrees that they are okay or they are right or they are wrong. They are actually themselves the heroes that never make faults, that never make mistakes. And that type of a spirit, when it is in you as a young man, you'll never see anything wrong inside of with you. And you'll find yourself to be right at all times. And when you are doing so and finding yourself right in everything that you do, you'll never self-correct in anything. You'll never get better. You'll never improve, because improvement of life is based on ability to see faults in yourself and be able actually to transform to say, I want to improve and become a different person. But remember that humility, contrary to arrogance, humility's ability to admit own mistakes as somebody who is able to say, here I am wrong, here I need to change, here you are right. Because when you acknowledge your own mistakes, it means that you are acknowledging that other people are right where they're supposed to be right. But arrogance is an element of seeing yourself as right at all times, and nothing can be wrong with you. And you cannot commit mistakes because you are the Mr. and you are the Mr. or Mrs. Hero, and in your life, whereby you are a scotch that never makes mistakes. And I must emphasize this, that this is a spirit of arrogance that somebody has when you do so. Now, please transform to humility, because humility is whereby you'll realize that there's nobody in this world who doesn't make mistakes. There's no one in this world who is actually infallible, because we are all fallible as human beings. And when you start to accept the fact that we are fallible, you will understand that you will be at wrong at some stage. You will make mistakes in this life. And when you make mistakes in this life, you're going to need to admit that you've made mistakes. Now, there are times when this type of spirit of arrogance is developing from young children that are still developing. And at the age of a young child who is refusing to be wrong when they are wrong, and they start to develop the spirit of arrogance. Now, at the age of you as a young man, you might be still somebody who doesn't want to accept that you've done mistakes. I want to urge you to understand that mistakes are done by people. We do mistakes, all of us. And as we do mistakes, all of us, we need to acknowledge the fact that we have done mistakes, and please be ready at all times to change. Because if you commit mistakes, one, you don't acknowledge that you've committed mistakes, you'll never correct. But if you acknowledge also that you've done mistakes but never want to correct those mistakes, is as good as refusing that you've made mistakes, and that as well is arrogance. Now, I want to emphasize that there's a need as a young man to convert from arrogance to humility. You need to be humble. You need to make sure that you understand that you can make mistakes like other people. And remember that people that feel they don't make mistakes, they're actually judging others easily. Because you think that others have done mistakes because they are foolish, and therefore you undermine the people because they've done mistakes. You forget that you can make mistakes yourself because you are arrogant, you don't want to accept that you've made mistakes. But please, as a young man, I want to urge you to be humble and accept that you do mistakes as well. I want to also mention that arrogance has got a tendency of not listening to others. And I'm sure you've seen that. Arrogance want to speak all the time. Arrogance makes people to want to dominate situations whereby they don't want to listen to others. They want to be listened to. And that's arrogance. When you think that which you say is the ultimate, that you say is the only thing that people have to listen to, and not you listening to other people, that is a spirit of arrogance. Now, as a young man, I want you to be aware that tendency of not listening to others is arrogance. And this is most of the time happening with people, that when somebody speaks, you don't want to sit and listen. You want to speak as well. And that's arrogance. So please, as a young man, avoid this spirit of arrogance. And remember that arrogance makes people not to listen. But it is through humility that makes people to listen, to understand. Let me say this. Now, when we speak about arrogance makes people not to listen, some of the people seem to be listening, but they listen only with an intention of answering. So you're already listening, but while you're listening, you're actually planning on how are you going to respond. So you listen with an intention of responding, and that's disrespectful as well. That remains arrogant, because you already want to have an answer of somebody that somebody is saying, even though you're still listening to them, and you're already planning on what you're going to say to respond to them, and that is arrogance on its own. But you'll realize that when we speak about humility, you're speaking about ability to listen with understanding. Now, the people that are humble, they are listening with understanding. It doesn't matter who's speaking. Whether that person that speaks is younger than them, whether that person that speaks is less educated than them, they are always going to listen with understanding, because they want to understand exactly what the person says. Before they respond, they would have digested that which this person is saying. And as a young man, I want you to adopt this type of spirit, to listen to everyone with understanding. To listen to everyone with a purpose that I want to understand. I want to digest the information that the person is telling me. I can only respond based on the understanding. And this is the reason why arrogant people, they normally give responses that are inappropriate. They normally give responses that are irrelevant to what is being spoken about, because they've never listened, because they've never said and concentrated on what people are saying. And as a result, because of that, they are actually responding inappropriately. Now, when you are arrogant because you feel that your assertion must be the only one that is listened to, you feel that you must be the only person who says the last word, so therefore you cannot listen to others because you feel like you're not benefiting from others. But as a young man, I want you to be aware that you can learn from anyone. You can learn from the young and the old. You can learn from the people that are privileged and those that are underprivileged. You can learn from the educated and non-educated. So therefore, it is very important that as an individual, you transform from arrogance and become humble, in the sense that you tell yourself, I'm going to listen to everyone. I'm going to make sure that I listen with understanding, and I'm going to be able to do things according to what I've heard, and appropriately so. You're not going to undermine people and say, this one cannot tell me anything, and I cannot listen to this one. But listen to everyone with understanding. And please make sure that you have understood everything before you respond. And that is humility. Let me say this, that the highest level of respect is ability to listen to others. When people are speaking and you keep quiet and listen to them, they know that you respect them. It's such a high disrespect to be speaking while others are speaking, or to interject when somebody is speaking and interrupt them. And that's arrogance. And I must say, as a young man, please, today, transform from that arrogant spirit and make sure that you adopt the spirit of humility as a young man. And that will help you, and you'll be able to live with people in a cordial manner. I want to end up here today. Your host, my Konas Pokani. This was part one of this great topic. Please join us as we deal with part two tomorrow. May the good Lord bless you, and cheers for now.